What's going on in there?
She's having a fundraiser with
Who is?
Mosby.
At Gaslight Square, they're having a fundraiser.
Right, don't even hide it. Ironic.
Drop the charges.
Freaky Davis!
Drop the charges.
Freaky Davis!
Drop the charge. And they changed the location of the fundraisers. Now if you go straight and then make a right, you take 95 north. Oh, okay.
Drop the charges! But it's crazy because the start of that is
Freaky Davis.
Hey!
For everybody watching, y'all should come to Keith's hearing tomorrow. Tomorrow at 11 a.m., Keith will go back to court and possibly be sentenced for a crime he did not commit.
What courthouse?
Courthouse East, room 228, starting at 11 a.m. Come a little early.
Come at 10:30.
Come at 10:30. Find out Keith could possibly be sentenced tomorrow, but his lawyer will have an opportunity to argue that he should be granted a new trial based on newly discovered evidence, which shows that a key witness used by the state's attorney's office, a jailhouse snitch, who claimed that Keith confessed to committing this murder to him. It turns out that, according to the prison's own records, these two were never housed in the same building. This man never met Keith Davis Jr. He was just trying to get a sentence cut. This dude who committed a murder himself, which the state's attorney's office did not allow come into the public's knowledge, did not allow Keith's lawyer to know this. But she claimed that, you know, what he's claiming is true, which is not. The prison himself has said that they were not anywhere close to each other.
That's wild. That's wild.
This snitch says that Keith would come up to his cell and buy some alcohol from his cellmate. What, Kelly, am I allowed to say it? But his cellmate even says that he never sold no fucking alcohol. He ain't never met Keith before.
He's never even had alcohol.
This man is a Muslim. You need to find a better person to say makes alcohol, sells alcohol than a Muslim. Just saying. They probably didn't think that far. That's just one of the newly discovered evidence that's gonna be discussed tomorrow, along with other things. I'm telling you, we could sit and talk about this case for hours. We've been following it since June 7th, 2015, when this man was shot by the police 3 times, including once to the face, because they thought he was a robbery suspect. But by the time they got back to talk to the robbery victim, the victim himself said that Keith wasn't the man. Not just on the day of the shooting, but also in court. The state's first key witness was the robbery victim. And they called him to the stand, and they brought him this far apart from me and you, and he leaned and he said, "That's not him." And yet they still try to make it fit. Because had they admitted that they were wrong and shot the wrong man, shot at the wrong man 44 times, hit him 3 times, including once in the face, a bullet that he didn't get out of his neck until 2 years later, that also the state's attorney's office was responsible for not allowing his lawyer, for his doctor to go check up on him. They've been doing everything that they could to bury this man in prison. They wish they would have killed him. They truly wish they would have killed him, but he survived. They had to go, we went through a mistrial earlier this year. 11 people voted not guilty. 1 person held out. She didn't even vote guilty. She just didn't believe that Keith could be innocent. She didn't like the way that Keith's lawyer was talking about police, claiming that police don't lie. Police are always telling the truth. What about these fucking 8 police officers who just got indicted about the 9th? They not lying? Get out of here.
What's she holding a fundraiser for?
Marilyn Mosby is coming up for re-election next year, and she's lost a lot of support. She ran on the platform of being a representative of the community, of the people's interests, because the previous state's attorney, Greg Bernstein, fucked up. He let the person who killed Anthony Anderson, Todd Stroman, off, even though the autopsy ruled that homicide due to blunt force trauma. He let the man who killed Tyrone West off, the officers who beat him to death. So people had faith in Marilyn Mosby to change that up, because she talked all that talk and she's nice and pretty, and people fell in love with that. And now I hope they realize that they got the wrong person. I'm not going to say that any other state's attorney candidate is the solution either, but this one got to go. I don't think people understand that we tried to be very civil about this. We went to the state's attorney's office 20 days consecutively, turning in letters that people hand wrote. Every day people are sending in letters, and we go hand deliver it to our office. We go up, we say, you know, we got deliveries, we'd like to set an appointment with Marilyn Mosby. And after like 2 weeks, they started sending police down and saying, nah, you can't even do that. They started getting tired of us coming, checking in, what's the status of our meeting? Well, have you responded to our letters? No. We tried to go to community forums, and they did intentionally not choose us to ask questions. They even assaulted one of our members. Yes, they surely did. So people don't really hear all that, though. People have the attention span for what 1 or 2 news articles say, but we've been there every step of the way, all through the trials, through everything. So take a second to learn about something that you don't know, that the reporters that they don't even know. They'll show up on the last day of the trial and try to compact everything into a little article. But for us, there's a lot more to it. A lot more to it. They want to say this gun that Keith supposedly had, but they won't show any evidence of the fingerprints that they claim are on this gun. You claim that Keith's fingerprints are on the gun, then show us the evidence. You think that would be pretty obvious. They ain't never shown us the fingerprints. If people don't believe police lie, I don't know what else I can tell you. Just read the news right now with the officers in the Gun Trace Task Force. Let's start with Detective Anthony Fata. This dude got shot, tried to say it was some black man. Come to find out, dude shot himself because he wanted workers' comp. He wanted time off and he wanted to get paid for it. He made up a suspect that even looked like MacArthur. Probably took a picture of MacArthur and was like, yeah, just draw something like that. That was an officer who shot himself. He survived. He shot himself maybe
in the foot, right?
4 years ago.
Where did he shoot himself?
I believe he shot himself in the foot or in the leg. He stuck with that story that, you know, it was some dude. He set off a mass search. And come to find out, the police themselves have figured it out. I think they got mad because he lied to his own peoples. He didn't let them in on the secret. We really need a state's attorney who's willing to confront these officers. All right? Anybody who believes that Marilyn Mosby was really about convicting the officers who were responsible for the death of Freddie Gray, I'm mistaken. I'm sorry. I don't know.
That was a Dog and Pony show.
It truly was. Please reconsider your excitement when you hear state's attorney indicts killer police.
Yeah,
save that excitement for when they actually get convicted. All right? Because we lost a lot of momentum back in May of 2015. When she made that announcement, it just turned into a party. See? I think people should realize that this gate is important. You know how they set up these fundraisers and these events, hiding behind gates, because they're afraid of us. She won't come in public.
Wrong way.
That
Wrong
way.
way.
That way. Go that way.
Wait for the train.
They're afraid of us. Y'all should all be ashamed of yourselves.
Hey, Mecca.
It's crazy.
the police helicopter out.
If you're just learning about this case, just Google search Keith Davis Jr.
Yep.
All right, there's plenty of videos on YouTube, on the Baltimore Bloc YouTube channel, or you know, there's some articles written. Read the ones written by Baynard Woods. All right, there's
one-way street. One-way street.
This way.
One way.
It's
a one. No, that's a cop right there. You don't want to turn around.
This way. Yeah. That was, man, you know
who was that?
It was possibly Councilman Bullock, who we did see here earlier. He did walk in. Unfortunately, that was one of the people were excited about for winning a seat on the council, but I don't think they're so excited anymore. I was excited at one point because the dude used to be my professor. Not anymore.
So we didn't say shit about Harlem Park.
Yeah, man, didn't even say nothing about Harlem Park. Where were they all out when they shut down the whole neighborhood? Didn't even say nothing. We had to drag him on social media before he said something.
That's a shame.
That's a shame, yeah.
That's a shame.
Don't wait until we drag you to do something.
Rally out or something.
Yeah, look at all the people sitting in their cars waiting for us to leave. Sorry. Y'all want to join the after party? Come on over. Let's talk about Keith Davis Jr., the one y'all are supporting who's maliciously prosecuting him. Y'all don't want to hear that, though.
Did you have fun supporting someone who's convicting someone who's innocent? How can you sleep tonight? An innocent man is behind bars. Tell Mosby to drop the charges.
Excuse me, officer. They don't have a front tag. I'll wait here. This is a citizen's arrest. They don't got a front tag. He don't got a front tag. What's that?
I'm acknowledging what you're saying. I told her I would look at it. Thank you.
Did you talk to Mosby about it, though? Did you talk to
I
Mosby?
can only do stuff by meeting, right? And I will listen, so please let me go. I still have work.
He was asking, did you talk to Mosby about it?
No, I didn't talk to her at all.
So can I ask?
Let me tell you, I can't talk until I'm educated, correct? And so what this lady said right here with the sound, when I came down, she said, would you please research it? Isn't that what you asked me? And I said, I'll do that.
All right,
Thank you.
Please do that.
Research and spread the word, please. Research and spread. Thank you.
Exactly.
All the time. You're gonna hit us back up and say, you know, I read up on it, and this is how I feel. It could be, you know, a stressful night, or you know, I understand why you're all out there, and I believe you. We would like feedback.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Drive safe.
But you didn't ask.
And you have to make a left.
You didn't tell us you're gonna hit us back and get the feedback. Hit Baltimore Bloc. Baltimore Bloc.
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 You promise?
I'm not gonna promise.
Ah, see?
I'm not gonna
See, then I gotta go back.
To the left. To the left.
Make a left.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Where's your cord?
All right, next. Do you know about Keith Davis Jr.? Are you aware of Keith Davis Jr.? Do you think this is funny? Did you hear them say anything? Roll down your window, please.
Did you ask Mosby about Keith Davis Jr.? Did you look up Keith Davis Jr. when you were in the dinner?
I can't engage with people who have their windows up. Should I let him go?
You can't ignore it. We're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere.
Have you looked up Keith Davis Jr. while you've been on the phone?
I'm not. That's not on the phone.
Would you like to read about it? Or we can talk to you about it.
Talk to me about it. Sure. Talk to me about it. That's what he's out here for, right?
You've never heard of Keith? Well, Freddie, are you being
Have I heard of Keith Davis? Absolutely. You have to read about him.
Yes.
And that's not been on the phone, but clearly the back.
So what have you heard about Keith? What is...
Tell me.
Well, what have you heard?
Not a lot.
Not a lot. Well, he's the first man who was shot by the police after the death of Freddie Gray.
Sure.
June 7, 2015. Police believed him to be an armed robbery suspect. But even after they asked him that, they still charged him with all the charges related. He was shot at 44 times. Because, see, they didn't see him in the garage. They just saw him run in the garage. He was running for his life. Saw him run into the garage, hide behind the refrigerator. And so, maybe they were afraid or something. They claimed that he was shooting at, well, they never claimed that he was shooting at them, but the state's attorney's office still charged them with discharging a firearm. It wasn't until over a year later that they dropped it, right before trial.
Mike check! Freaky Davis!
Freaky Davis!
Drop the charges!
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 Hey, would you like to talk about?
Hey, brother,
Yes,
I know
sir.
y'all got issues, but if
We
y'all
sure do.
move out of the way and let me go, everything will be cool.
Well, you don't want to take some time to understand why we're here?
I need you to let me go.
No,
The
it-
same reason that you out here, I'm actually downtown doing that same work. Just
Right,
because
but
I
if you were doing the same work, you'd be right here with us.
No, I would be going home.
What's the
So
same work that you're doing?
Brother,
Fine.
let me through is what I'm telling you.
I'm not blocking you.
You in?
Hey,
Why? No, don't.
hey, I'm not the one. I'm not bullshit. Let me the fuck by.
I'm not blocking you. Have a nice. Yeah, go. No. Let him
Wrong
go.
way, wrong way, wrong way, wrong
Go ahead.
way.
Go ahead. Bye. Bye. Go home.
Tell me he ain't the one.
You ain't the one, though. You ain't the one. Look out here. You gotta concentrate, man. Driving the wrong way, you might get in an accident.
It's gonna be alright.
You ain't the one, though.
I noticed you got your face.
Cold.
Is that what it is?
His face covered cold.
Yeah, I don't get to enjoy the warmth.
I ain't got my face covered.
Because y'all who support Mosby and Mosby herself doesn't want us in there. She ain't.
Y'all
she
are
ain't
read-
willing
y'all-
to
y'all are read the
talk to us. She's not willing to talk to us.
I'm gonna talk.
Alright, we're gonna listen.
Your issue is with Miss Mosby prosecuting Mr. Davis.
Yep.
Okay.
And not just Mr. Davis.
Who else then?
The thing, she ain't nothing but the new face of old Jim Crow. She ain't doing nothing
What-
but trying
what
to
do you know about
put
Keith
black
Davis?
people in jail and lock black people up. She ain't trying to give us no justice.
Let's start
I
with Keith
can't say
Davis.
I know any more than what you all are talking
I
about.
know,
Oh, but you
I
didn't
know.
take no time to listen, though.
He listening now.
Yeah, you said
he listening now.
understood. Okay. But it's not even worth it, because honestly, I'm not going to waste my fucking time on people.
So when
11-1 not guilty hung jury on a murder they could not commit against exculpatory evidence that
That the state withheld
The state is-
on multiple trials.
okay. He was acquitted on 14 of 15 charges on a robbery, of a hack of a robbery. The hack himself went this close to him in trial and said that's not me.
And they still went after
Because
him.
the police were chasing a hack robbery suspect.
And
they
lost.
ended up chasing the wrong guy. He
And
died in the garage. They ended up shooting 44 times into the garage, hit him 3 times.
One of the bullets
They
stuck in
found
his
a gun
neck
in
for
the
2
garage.
years.
They then tied that gun to him, tied that gun to a murder that had happened 5 hours earlier while he was on the phone with his phone. And his wife, actually, and his wife. So he was acquitted of 14 of 15 charges. There was one charge because he was found unconscious, found near a gun.
Because he's an ex-felon.
Because he's an ex-felon.
And you know how that goes.
Okay.
I do.
So then, they dropped, it took 3 grand juries to get an indictment. They finally get an indictment, drop murder charges on him because they were... Because
Right
they said
as
this
the
gun,
end of his first trial,
they
as
say
he's about to
this
be
gun was
acquitted.
used to murder him.
Latoya Francis Williams.
She works within the White Python.
Okay.
This gun, the firearm examiner says he was hit in his face. The bullet was lodged in his neck. He stayed there for 2 years. I went to Mosby. I asked her. I emailed her. I did everything. I figured she would do the right thing, and it wasn't done. Instead, because I approached her, she felt that I was being disrespectful. she maliciously came after my husband. He went through one murder trial and it ended in a hung jury. 11 innocent to one woman who said she couldn't find him guilty, but she felt better if he was locked up instead of on the streets. And then they came after him again. Remember, William Porter, one of the officers with Freddie Gray, he had the same vote, 11 to 1. Keith didn't have a guilty. He had one guilty. Keith did not. He was sent to trial again. He just finished trial in October. They used an illegal in Texas syndicate gang member who worked with the Mexican cartel that was here in our prison as a federal inmate. They used him to come to court and say that my husband confessed to him. My husband was, and they would not allow us to vet him. After my husband was convicted, we found out that this man never was with my husband, according to prison staff and prison records. He never could have had a conversation with my husband. He said that he met my husband because his cell buddy made alcohol, and my husband would buy alcohol from him. We have an affidavit from that cell buddy. He is a devout Pakistani Muslim. He's never even drank alcohol, let alone made it. He's never seen my husband. They don't know my husband.
Was he brought to trial?
He will be brought to trial tomorrow. My husband possibly could be sentenced tomorrow for 50 years. And this state's attorney's office has all of the evidence to know that he's, and they're asking for the maximum sentence.
That's why we're out here.
But I ask you this. If my husband was guilty, like she's telling people in there he was, why would she go to the lengths of using an illegal informant to prove that? The evidence should have been there.
No, when it didn't work.
They stick over 30 charges on the people who were at. You're saying there was this Pakistani gentleman. Was he brought to trial to testify?
We weren't able to vet this informant. They brought this informant to trial 2 days before we started. Judge Lynn Stewart Mays allowed this informant to testify and told our lawyer that she had 1 day to figure out who he was. When our lawyer asks, has he been involved in any murders? Who is he? Where does he come from?
So 3 days before the trial,
2 days.
I know, but 3 days before the trial,
no, actually,
you had
we only had 1 day.
who that was.
We had
Correct.
no idea.
No name.
No idea. And the statement that they did give,
They give redacted everything.
it was redacted. It looked like piano keys, and that came from the state's attorney's office. And I mean, even if, because I know that she goes in there and says that he's guilty and everything else, why would you go to those lengths? And we're able to prove it. And now that my husband's going to sentencing and we filed a motion for a new trial, this gentleman is gone. He's gone. Why would he be gone? Who said that this was over?
He's already out of state.
They already moved him out of state. They brought him from Texas to Jessup, and now he's gone.
6 months, just there to say that he's a federal inmate in a Maryland prison. He was housed at Jessup Correctional Institution on RICO charges. We asked him, was he involved in murders? He testified no.
He set a body on fire.
He set a body on fire. We weren't given his indictment. We weren't given anything.
It was an 11th hour witness, and he is the only difference between that trial and the mystery.
Did not testify in the first trial?
Not at all.
Because they didn't know.
In this trial, we have an affidavit. Check Justin Fenton's. He's dropping an article in the morning. We have an affidavit from a juror from the first trial who says, we heard all of your evidence and we did not believe it. The only thing that convicted my husband this time was this illegal informant. And we didn't bring him to trial. Marlon Mosby and her administration did.
There was no gunpowder residue on Keith. None of his DNA was found on the murder victim. None of the murder victim's DNA was found on Keith.
We don't.
Thank you for taking some time.
Appreciate that extra time. But look up the case.
No.
I support Ms. Mosby because I knew her before she became a state's attorney.
Supported her too.
We all
supported her.
We wanted to get her elected initially.
We all supported
I
her.
voted for her.
So did I.
But this here, regardless of what you know, right is right and wrong is wrong, is written there. I believe my husband was offered up, because he was the first person to be shot after Freddie Gray. He was offered up to write her whatever she felt like they felt she did wrong. And that's not fair. That officer testified that he was chasing a man who did not look like my husband.
Said he had dreadlocks.
In the murder, there was a murder, eyewitness to this murder, and he said that the man was in his late 30s, early 40s. That's 10 to 15 years older. My husband looks about 12. All of these things are there, and still she maliciously prosecuted my husband. They are asking for the maximum sentence. My husband, he does not deserve this. And police might have made a mistake, but my husband does not deserve to pay for it with his life.
Imagine that's going to hold up on appeal.
But why should we have to get to an appeal? And in his lawyer's defense, she worked hard. She was fighting the judge. The judge allowed this stuff to come in.
I know that. I'm not surprised.
She allowed this to come in. But I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. 11 a.m. Courthouse, room 228, Lynn Stewart Mays. I filed complaints with the Attorney Grievance Commission because this is Andrea Mason. She's a senior prosecutor. She should know better. She's now with the Conviction Integrity Unit. That doesn't even make sense. And I also filed a complaint with the Judiciary Disability Board. Do you have a card or your name or anything? Thank you so much.
I may come down tomorrow.
Mr. Rose, you just got off the DJ. I'm in law school, so I follow all of the tenets. So. I'm sorry, I'm a law geek, but thank you. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
Thank you for stopping.
You have a good night.
You
Be
too.
safe.
Thank you.
I realized until after they shot him that he was the wrong man. But they asked the robbery victim. They did not identify him on numerous occasions. Yet they still charged him. The additional charges, like discharging a firearm when there is not a police officer, not anybody claiming that they fired a gun. He's gone through 3 trials. The first 15 charges that they threw at him after the shooting, he was acquitted of. A charge that they added 5 months after he was initially charged is what he was convicted on. He was found not guilty of possession of a firearm, but he was charged with possession of a firearm with a felony conviction. It's crazy. They tied that gun to a homicide that occurred the same day earlier in the day. Now, the only thing that they say that ties him to that gun was the same shells, the same caliber gun that was used, but there's nothing that ties him to the scene. He was at home. They use cell phone towers, cell phone data, which indicate that he was in the general vicinity, but that vicinity was all of Park Heights, essentially. What secured their conviction in the last trial was that they used the jailhouse. They used an informant in the prison. This informant claims that Keith confessed to him personally, despite Keith maintaining his innocence the last couple of years. He says that for some reason on the first time he met this random dude, that he admitted that to commit this murder. Prison records show itself that these two could have never been in the same building. They're housed in separate buildings. The informant says that Keith would come to his cell to buy alcohol from his roommate. His roommate is devout Muslim who doesn't drink alcohol, who doesn't sell alcohol, who's come forward and said that, clarified that. But we didn't know anything about this informant until 2 days before trial. They didn't say anything. What they did hand over 2 days before trial was multiple pages with everything redacted. Literally, like, everything redacted. We didn't know this man was in prison for committing a murder. He set some dude on fire like a decade ago, and he came forward in an attempt to have his sentence cut. And now that we have this evidence that we didn't learn about this informant until after he was convicted. So his attorney put in a motion for a new trial. He goes for sentencing tomorrow. We're hoping that, the judge sees beyond, what happened. If you're interested, at 11 a.m. tomorrow at Courthouse East. Yeah, on the right side.
I don't just go to the thing in courts. I try to go to the places.
I understand.
Even for jury duty.
Right. I appreciate you taking some time.
Well, I'm trying to figure out some things that's going on.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm watching ID and all that other crazy shit. But this is real drama. Thank you.
This is crazy. And they shot him when they thought that he was the one who robbed the taxi. They chased him into a garage. And
they lost the actual man.
They shot at Keith
44 times.
44 times.
Damn.
And 3 bullets hit him. and it took them 2 years to remove one of the bullets that was lodged.
One was lodged in his neck. We had to fight numerous times.
What made y'all get interested?
We just read. We read and we analyze. We conduct our own investigations. If things don't add up, we dig deeper. We met with his wife, who's here tonight, and we've become acquainted with the evidence. We go beyond what the media will report initially, and
y'all doing some monumental work.
I appreciate that.
It's something. I know we all get into our different venues as to what aspect of communities we deal with.
Right.
Myself, I'm into community development. As people talking about gentrification, removal of people. So I try to work in the challenge neighborhoods, to educate folks, to negotiate with these folks who's coming in. That's what I do.
Right.
I know to the criminal justice system, but all that stuff is overlapping. It's just too much.
Yeah.
Everybody would do so. I'm glad different people got different lanes.
So I hope you don't continue to support Mosby, because she was the one who pressed all those charges and ignored us.
Why we're coming on so hard, we wouldn't be out here. But we went and we tried it diplomatically. We went to her office on numerous occasions. We attempted
We
to have a
supported her
sit-down
too.
meeting.
A lot of us voted for her.
A lot of people who were out here initially
Campaigned for her.
supported her 2 years ago. But this has led to them changing their minds because they realize. I can't talk to Elijah tonight. His wife is going to handle that.
Cummins over there. All right.
All right, you take.
Drive safe,
take
Mr.
care of
Miles.
yourself.
Thank you.